Today we will talk about how Schiphol Airport went through their data and AI journey and what we can learn from it. The three things that I hope you will get from this are: 1. What the key elements are to consider starting with AI, which roadblocks you will most likely encounter and how to deal with them, and 3. What practical use cases for AI Schiphol has been using so far. Welcome to Data and AI Talks, where we talk about everything you need to know when you work in the data and AI field, or if you want to work in the data and artificial intelligence field. My name is Vincent Spruit, and I help organizations move forward in their AI journey. Remember to subscribe to our podcast if you haven't already. And today is with me Maarten van den Outenaar. He's the Chief Data Officer of Schiphol Airport. And he worked for other big companies in the past, also in transport like NS. Welcome, Maarten. Maybe you can give a quick introduction about what you did in the past.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me. Yes, I think it's always good to mention that I don't have a data background. So I studied first 1 year philosophy and then did my master's in history, but did it around learning organizations. Then in my past roles, I was director digital at Volker Wessels, one of the big construction companies where I was mainly focused on predictive maintenance. Then head of analytics at the Dutch Railways, NS. And now since a year, I'm the head of data or CDO at Schiphol.
Well, I think most people in Netherlands will know Schiphol because it's the place where you arrive if you're international and where you have to go to if you want to leave the country. So it's a beautiful organization. They have been in the news up and down, but the data and AI team has been working hard to improve all of these things. What would you say is the beautiful thing about working with Schiphol?
I think it's always good to mention that Schiphol is broader than only the Amsterdam airport. So we also have Eindhoven, we have Rotterdam in the group, Maastricht as well. But we also run Terminal 4 at JFK in New York, have Brisbane and Hobart in Australia. So it's actually a bigger group than you would first imagine, I guess. So why it's beautiful to work there is that because there is a lot of data. So we have different parts in our organization. We have a big asset management part where we are trying to see how the assets actually function instead of doing it periodical look like, okay, when is which asset, when does it need reparation? We have a big operational part, of course. We have the commerce side. So there are different sides there that all can be improved with data.
And I think it's really cool that you use data and AI and you actually see it when you go to the airports where you work, right? Sometimes in companies, for example, a bank or in bigger insurance companies, it's hard to see the product that you're making. And with you guys, you can actually see it in the airport.
Yeah, so we have a lot of algorithms like time slots that are actually used more and more for our customers. So with time slots, for example, you can subscribe when you want to arrive at the airport. Same thing if you go to a hairdresser and you make an appointment there. That gives, of course, a lot of information on when people will be at what time at the airport, so we can better see how the patterns will move. I think it's also important to say that data is not only improving Schiphol, but in my opinion, it's also crucial for the upcoming 10, 20 years when you look at Schiphol. Because I think you started by saying a lot of people fly via Schiphol. And often when I give presentations, I always start with the question, so who has ever flown via Schiphol? And most of the times it's everyone. But the second and the third question are who thinks that Schiphol is currently polluting the environment, and then also, of course, including the airlines. And the third question is who thinks that Schiphol has, in some departments, bad labor conditions, for example, in the baggage halls. And we are well aware of the fact that these are things that we need to improve in the upcoming years to keep Schiphol and airports in general up and running. And one of the ways to improve that is by going towards this autonomous airport, a vision we created 7-8 years ago. It is a bit this dark factory vision where everything is automated, almost no humans in the operational process. It's also a vision to be clear about that for the year 2050. But if we are able to realize that vision and let the human be in the lead in the end. So the human always makes the final decision, controls the machines. But then we are really able to electrify our stuff to be less polluting in sound, for example, but also environmental pollution, to lower that and to go towards better working conditions for our employees and the employees of the contractors that work for us. So AI is not only a thing in which we in a fun way improve our airport, but it's also crucial for the existence of airports and of Schiphol.
Yeah, I see the self scans and all of these things, but how would it help with the sound pollution? I don't understand that.
Well, maybe the self-scan, not exactly. But if you look, for example, one of the tests we're doing right now is that when the plane is most polluting when it's just getting off the airport, right? So it's towed back and then it has to leave the gate and has to go towards the runway. This is a moment when it uses a lot of energy and also pollutes a lot of ultra fine particles, as it's called, and also makes a lot of sound. So that are moments if we electrify those and we automate those, so then it can be more efficient in the energy that it uses, for example. Then you have less sound pollution and less ultrafine particles pollution. Another thing we are doing is that every plane that leaves and lands on the ground between the gate and the moment it departs or it arrives, with AI, of course, and we're making these plannings that the plane goes as efficiently as possible, so that we have the less pollution, less kerosene consumption, etc., etc. And the LVNL, so the air control, is doing the same thing. So, and when we connect those algorithms, also with the algorithms, for example, from KLM or other airlines, then you get this fully optimized start till landing till docking at the gate process. And that's again good for the sound, that the total sound amount of sound the plane makes, or the pollution.
So 2050 is not just removing the people from the airport, but also out of the plane. Like no pilot just flying it autonomously. No.
Well, I think that's the typical sentence that is not true. It's also a thing we are also discussing with, of course, our labor union a lot. Like, okay, is the strategy of Schiphol to eliminate all employees? I think the strategy should be, and that's also the data strategy we wrote for Schiphol for the upcoming 3 years, is to not erase people from the process, but to empower people to do the process better. And that's a different opinion there. And I like the sense a lot that people are not going to lose their job to AI, but they're going to lose their job to people that use AI. So that's our obligation as a company, if we are looking after our employees, to learn them the skills AI has to offer, and that way that they can improve their work so that they stay fit for the market, in a sense, fit for purpose or fit for the future. The thing we want to do there is, as I said, not get people out of the process and don't give them a role, but everyone working at Schiphol has a certain level of expertise knowledge. And it is that expertise knowledge that is crucial to combine it with the new possibilities of data to let the airport run better. And yes, I think it's a good idea that they get to do less heavy labor, because that's bad for your body, bad for when you're 50 or 60. But I think it's a good idea that we take those people, understand what their expert knowledge is, and empower them to execute that better.
And right now, I think there's a shortage in personnel, and they have just too much work. So that this would help to be able to process the lines quicker, to help the people that are working there right now.
Yeah, for example, security, we made huge improvements by also using AI there, for example. So that is cool.
What are the most incredible achievements Schiphol has made with data and AI? Can you already shared some things? Can you maybe pick out one or two?
So that depends on what would you say that is a great achievement?
According to you.
According to me. Okay.
Yeah.
So there is some, I would say I have some debate with myself on that. So there are a couple of amazing things we're doing from a technical AI perspective. So for example, we're doing this deep turn algorithm where we, with smart cameras, analyze the turnaround of the plane. For us, the turnaround is one of the most critical processes, where the plane is docked, gets to the dock, to the gate, all people get off boarding, there needs to be kerosene unloading, baggage unloading, etc., etc. And it's often delayed or not at the time that we expected it. So therefore, the planning is not what we expected, and we are losing money there, or efficiency, as you will. With these smart cameras, we can now track every process during the dockings or during the turnaround, and we can actually see already when a plane will be delayed or not, and that helps us in making more efficient planning there. Before, we got a lot of feedback like, well, the passenger was not on time, so therefore the plane had to depart later. And now we're saying, okay, probably also the passenger, but we also saw that your baggage crew can make a step up maybe there, or that we should improve something else. So I think those are great steps. Also with this algorithm, we, by the way, now analyze the moment the baggage will be on the back at the passengers, right? This was in the news also, that we can now actually by minute say, okay, it will take only 8 minutes, then your bag is there 7, 6, instead of only just the baggage is on the belt, and good luck with waiting. So I think that's a great improvement. On the other hand, those are also improvements that are still in a very early stage of really making real impact at Schiphol. So this whole turnaround thing is now implemented in our tower, which you probably know, on the 10th floor where the gate planning is, and is making impact, is helping them to do their job better, but it's not an overall increase. Whereas the earlier thing I named time slots, which is an interesting algorithm, but which made most impact in just the simple thing that we just book a time slot and that's it. It was done in a very short time, because then 2 years ago these waiting lines were there and there was a big amount of pressure. But these are things that are less complicated than the deep turn algorithm, but make a way more impact to our day-to-day operations right now. And that are things that, for me, in my opinion, are at least as valuable as this amazing deep turn algorithm.
Interesting. So when did you start with the AI in Schiphol? When did you guys start?
Yeah, I wasn't there, so I'm there only since a year. But we started with the Center of Excellence around AIs in 2019.
2019, okay. Still, how do you decide which AI projects to pursue and which to let go?
That's an interesting question, also because it changes through time. I think that I'm quite looking a lot at the process of a Gartner hype cycle, which says throughout time that you go from a decentralized towards a centralized organization. And in that centralized organization, you build up the capability. I think this is done in 2019. And the first thing you should do then is show the company the value of the capability of AI. So what are use cases there where AI can make a real impact? And then when you show that, then you are going towards a hub spoke and then a holistic state, as it's called, where everybody uses AI. And for that, you need a good foundation that is supporting the whole organization at the right maturity level that's needed. And that also is bringing down the enthusiasm around the technology. Then you get this valley of death and the trough of disillusionment where all technology dies, etc., until you get towards this plateau of productivity. So what we did, I think, in the beginning in 2019 was that we were mainly focused on building up this capability and just seeing where big possibilities were and putting capability teams there, AI teams. That leads to projects like I already named, the new gate planning via deep turn, new security insights, etc. The step we're now trying to make is that we are actually, in our strategy per business department, have a top 3 of key decisions. So instead of looking at the most amazing AI projects, we're now looking at what are the most impactful projects for that business department. And from that, we analyze what products we do or what we not do.
How do you decide on what's impactful? Do you have certain measure points? Like, is it how much money it will save, how much time, or what is for you impactful?
This is, well, at the moment, it's what the business says it's helping them most. It's one of the things we're struggling with hard, and then I mean the value part. So one of the things I think a lot of organizations are finding that hard now is that a lot of organizations invested heavily in data and also in IT, and it comes now to a point that a lot of board of directors are saying, members are saying, okay, what did you guys actually deliver? What value did you deliver? What did you actually improve?
Yeah.
So we are setting up. We have a clear focus on value in the strategy we launched this year. We are thinking about setting up a value office to actually track that. I know ASML has done that, and that helps them a lot in prioritization. And for us, it's still now having a close contact with the business and asking them, is this really what you need? And then also hoping they say the right thing, also trust them a little bit on that. But we are not prioritizing from a Schiphol broad perspective. I think that's something we should work towards in this year.
Okay, so that's the next step, basically. If you look back, what do you need to start with AI? Do you already have to have all your data in order? Do you have to have all the people in the company understand what AI is and that they are involved? Or what do you think are the most important crucial factors maybe before starting with AI?
So the things you're naming are the things that are mostly said, right? That you need first good data quality and need the right people there, and that everybody needs to understand data. I would disagree with that a lot. One of the things we're currently talking about a lot is that selling AI, because in some point we're selling that. So it is the connection between what the business needs and what AI can deliver. So we also separated that now more clearly in our management team. We have data leads that are actually understanding where the business goes towards, are in the lead of creating a vision, a data vision for that business, for commerce, for example. And then drill it down towards this is what we need. These are the questions we need to have answered. And we also have these capability leads that are now focused on the proposition side from AI, but also BI and other tech. And their job is to understand what propositions you have on, for example, the hype cycle, which of those propositions are crucial for Schiphol to implement and answer the questions of the business. And in a sort of sense, selling AI is like selling an ice cream. If you do it in the winter to the wrong audience, nobody's going to buy your ice cream. If you're in the right place at the right time, you understand the people that are there, then you understand if you should sell a Magnum or some vegan ice. That's also what your customers want. And that's the thing, I think, which is crucial at AI, especially when you look at semi-governmental organizations like Schiphol or also Vogel Wessels or the Dutch Railways, that the audience you have, the clients you're selling towards, are not that data savvy that you can just say, okay, but first all data needs to be in order. Everybody needs to understand what AI is before you can start implementing AI. And a good example when it became extremely clear for me was when I worked at the Dutch Railways, and we were doing a good job, right? I had around 200 people in 35 teams doing all these amazing algorithms for operations, for HR, finance, etc., etc. And we organized this AI summer school for all leaders of Schiphol, like the top 50. And the only thing they remembered there, because that's what they keep shouting at me the rest of the year, was, whoa, you guys are so expensive. That's the only thing they remembered. Because then we explained what AI was, what the benefits was for them, and they all found that too hard, and they didn't understand what the exact value is. And I said, well, but you're 200 FTE. Oh, that's too much. That's too much. That should be less. So there's this balance between, again, uplifting the whole organization before you do something and making real impact. And that impact, that's the most important thing.
Understanding the needs and knowing what the possibilities are with AI. And I completely agree. It's never going to be perfect with your data, with the landscape and everything. Make sure that you maybe start with a small environment where you can control it a little bit and get small successes is what most organizations I would advise to as well. Don't try to do everything at the same time. Start with something, get some success and learn from that and go to the next thing. And I think that's also how you guys are doing it. One step at a time, step for step, getting some traction and leaning on that, using that to leverage for more projects. And then maybe also convince the management, internal stakeholders, the business that it's actually a profitable business, right? Because that in the end of the day, if you don't have a business case, then you're going to have what you had at the railroads. They are just going to say it's a very expensive hobby.
Yeah, but you also know that creating that business case is extremely hard with data because it's always a combined factor there. It's always you do something with data, but well, the people that also do something else, and therefore your business case fails or it is achieved without a clear, at least that's what I see a lot, contribution from data. The thing that I changed in my story over the past 4 years is not anymore focusing on the business problems or the products we're making. So, of course, first in this centralized phase where you're building up AI, you're shouting like, AI can do this and they can do that and they can do that. We had a fun conversation with the CFO of Schiphol about generative AI, where we explained, if you don't do this, you'll miss out. And then he says, well, I miss out every week. So please tell me why I should really not miss out here, because everybody's telling me I'm missing out the whole time. So that story is too weak, right? So at the Dutch Railways, there was a strategy around data as the new gold, so we go to the cloud. Or in Dutch it rhymes. Data is nieuwe goud, dus we gaan naar the cloud. That's quite an interesting strategy, but it doesn't say a lot about what the value is. And then we started focusing on the problems, and that went better because then we had a real connection with our business, right? So our sentence, our slogan for the strategy is also data at the heart of every key decision, because a lot of people from data do not really know how to understand the business, but they do know that they're improving decisions. People in the business do not really know what to ask from data. That's this platform and things and guys with headphones on. But they a lot of leaders at least do understand that they are making decisions, and also managers and experts also know that they're making decisions. So if they can tell us what the decisions are they make, then we can tell them what the decisions are they solve. But then you're still not there. It was called, you have also the book about it, and it was The Lost Strategy, Falling in Love with the Problem. But they are only at the problem. And the thing I try to add now is that it's not about solving the problem, but it's about improving the employee. So the frontline worker of Schiphol. And that's, again, a different game. Because then we have to understand what Jan or what Karim is doing at the airside, how he's guiding a plane, how the algorithm helps his problems, but not only that, how he can implement it in his day-to-day life. We actually have to go to Karim, have to talk to him, which is also found scary. So therefore, I fully agree on making small steps, on showing small results, but the best step to make is that every 2 weeks you create something. You should go to Karim and ask him, did we help you or not? And if he says, yes, I'm doing my work better, then you do a good job. So also the prioritization question, I'm currently thinking about it. So we haven't done it. So I'm going to do it in the upcoming half year, I hope. It's not prioritization on products or problems, but is a prioritization on employees and which employee we are most important for us, and on those employees we're going to help to do their job better. And that's again a different perspective on the job we have to do here.
And how did you get to that? Because it's like a mission or a vision of maybe something that Schiphol wants to achieve. Does it come from the company statement, or where does it come from? Because you can focus on a lot of different things, right? What is important for a company? But do you start with that and then you say, okay, then our AI goals need to be aligned with that?
I think there are two things that are important. So the focus on the employee is not company driven. I think it's good that AI leaders or AI specialists in general try to figure out what this data transformation means and for who we do this data transformation. When I look back to my time at Volker Wessels, we had a data empire, which was a closed wall with a door and a sign with "This is the data empire." And when you open the door, you saw all people there programming with headphones on. They had a snake because they were programming in Python, and they had puppets of pandas because they had a panda add-on. And then in the hallway, there were people standing up with a helmet, and they didn't talk to these data guys. They only opened the door and said, well, hello, how are you guys doing? And they said, awesome. And then the hardcore engineers started bragging at the coffee machine how well their connect was with the data people. And that's not really cooperation. That's just two groups having fun with each other, but not making impact. It is my strong belief that in a data transformation, it is all about improving those front workers, again, as I already said in the beginning. And of course, then if you want to do that, then it needs to be aligned with the strategy of the company. That's clear, right? So Schiphol has certain problems. I've already talked about pollution, labor conditions, but also more problems that need to be solved currently. The process of docking airplanes and departure and arrivals, passengers going through our airport, through security, that are real problems that we have to solve, and where AI can make a big difference. I think it's best to understand for everyone that works in data, again, that it's not about solving the problem, but it's about helping this employee. That's the moment that you make real impact. So that's more belief around data transformation than that it comes from Schiphol.
So you're saying that's not a Schiphol thing. That's if you would work in your next organizations over the next tens of years, dozens of years, you will always start with how can we empower the employee in whatever company you would be in with AI, and take that as a guidance for all the projects that you will choose.
I think that would be very wise. Yeah. Unless so, when I worked at Volker Wessels, we were actually selling products to the customer, right? So we created something with predictive maintenance and sold it. That's I think a different game. But the moment you are running a center of excellence data, because the question is, why would there be a center of excellence data? Why not let everybody figure it out themselves? And the answer to that, in my opinion, is that a company, a department always wants to go from A to B, right? That's the standard strategy you have there. You are at A, you want to go to B, you want to have a performance improvement, and there you have a strategic gap. And the way how to solve that gap, that's a problem of the business department, or in small, the problem of your employee, is by implementing the new technologies that are there, the new possibilities. That's how you increase the speed to go from A to B. And data, and in the broader sense, IT and data, are the new technologies that need to be implemented there. And having a center of excellence with all those data experts, that's the way how to organize fast knowledge sharing throughout your whole company. That's the way to build up a strong capability that can do that. And also then not only having everyone within the center of excellence, but of course working in this hub spoke model where the center of excellence is the hub driving this transformation, but you also have the spokes and the individual data users there that need to be connected as a community to set up that data transformation. So one of the first things I did when I joined Schiphol was hire a community manager. So somebody did that, but just was part of another job. And now we have dedicated community manager that is organizing knowledge sharing, that brands data in our organization. We have an own data logo, which has to be launched, which is going to be launched next month. We have a data fest upcoming at Hannekesboom, so feel invited, where everyone who is loving data and says, well, I want to learn something about data, we invite them all to come. And I think those are big steps there.
So but that's for the people who already are loving data, but you also try to involve the people that don't know about data yet in those events, or is that hard to attract them?
I think if you look at the different categories of people that you have to tag along, you should do it per phase, right? You were saying in the beginning, at some point, rightfully, like, okay, but chop it into pieces and do one piece after another.
Yeah, there's always like early adapters, late following.
Yeah, so you always have first the innovators that would think that everything is cool. Then you have the early adapters that I always like to say that they have a smartwatch, but they only have it because it's cool and they don't understand how it works. But they're just walking around showing what the new tech is. And then you have the chasm there. I hope you show me now your smartwatch, but I hope you know how it works, because then you get the early majority, and the early majority also likes the smartwatch, but is gonna ask one thing differently, and that's okay. I want to have the smartwatch, but can you please explain me why it's useful for me? Does it count steps? That's already enough. Does it count my heartbeat? That's already enough. Can it tell me how well I slept? That's already enough. But if you cannot tell to them, then they won't buy it. And that's why you have the chasm. And this center of excellence is there to bridge the chasm between the early innovators and the early majority. And if you have the early majority, that's the group we are trying to tag right now, we involve right now. Then you have the late majority, but they will mostly follow the early majority, because then you're already looking from a Gartner perspective at this plateau of productivity where AI is working, is proven working, work proven, something like that. And then they will follow. And then in the end, you have this 15, 16% laggards, but that are people that will never join. I mean, in the village of my mother, there's one house that doesn't have electricity. Well, okay. Fine, that's their decision. It's our obligation to tag along the early and then late majority to this AI, to these new AI possibilities, and help them understand it, help them use it. And then with that group, you need to make the next step. But that's important that it's individually employer focused. That's what you do there.
We're gonna sum it up, but I actually have two questions. One, if you can give an advice to a new organization, but there are a lot of organizations who are also working with people that don't even know how to use a computer, almost like maybe in harbors, or a lot of technical people, but not IT technical.
Yeah.
If you would advise companies like those, what are the 3 steps you should take if you're considering using AI?
First, understand what the biggest problems are you currently having. So I was talking about this A to B strategy with the strategic gap. So where do you want to go? And what are the biggest problems you have in your company strategy? I would then say which employees are solving that. So not the data employees, but what core employees are working in the area where those problems occur. And then see where data can help you. And be aware of the fact that working with AI is not working with high tech, especially when you were talking about harbors. But when I worked at Volker Wessels, we were working a lot at building sites, and we had this amazing 3D building algorithm which you could see at the tablet, and it was not used. So we went there and asked, why are you not using it? And they showed us that with their dirty hands they couldn't work with a tablet. And by the way, it was illegal when you went to Shell at Pernis, because it was not allowed there. And then they said, can you please print the 3D algorithm? Well, of course you can't print the algorithm. Yeah. So be aware of also the conditions you have to work at, where it has to work.
Amazing. Thank you. Hey, last question. I always like to end with this. I'm a big reader. I read a lot of books. Is there any book that you would recommend? Doesn't particularly have to be about this topic, but something that you read in the last months that you would recommend to people listening now.
Yeah, well, one of the thinkers I like, but he's quite controversial also a bit, is Jordan Peterson. So he says this 12 ways of 12 rules for life, I guess. So he has some things that he's saying where I'm not fond of. But one of the things he says that I like a lot, and that's also when you look at data and working with data, that he says that it's always important to have a clear goal where you're working towards, and only if you have that goal, you're able to be a team. So if you're working in a DevOps team, I saw a lot of DevOps teams that have to, that say that they work autonomous and therefore they decide themselves what they're doing. But always be clear about the goal you have and how it sticks and how it connects with the strategy of your company. The moment you don't have that, stop working and first ask what your goal is.
Good. I also read that book, by the way, from Jordan Peterson. I think he has a lot of interesting things to say. He is a little bit controversial, yeah, for sure. Hey, thank you so much, Maarten, for sharing the journey that you guys are making with data and AI in Schiphol. I've learned, to be honest, a lot of things, and I hope that people listening to this as well, if they want to learn more, just reach out to us. They're still looking for people, for good data engineers, good AI engineers at Schiphol, I think. So you're always free to apply there. Hey, thank you so much. Anything else you want to share?
No, thanks. Thanks a lot for the interview. And no words but data is also a sentence we use a lot. Geen woorden maar data.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, some of our proverbs don't translate so good to English, but that was a good one.
That's true.
Thank you.